Welcome back to Potions and Processing. I'm your host, Raven White, and I have filmed this 3 times so far today. This is going to have to be a shorter one because my neighbors are dual-wielding their lawnmowers and I'm chronically ill. You may have noticed I don't look so hot as I normally do. Not insinuating that I am hot, but I look not as nice as I usually do. And that's because, for the sake of transparency, I've decided not to hide my chronic illness as I would normally do in my day-to-day life. My chronic illness is, of course, directly tied to my trauma. So I've just decided that when I'm having a health flare-up, which I am currently experiencing, I'm going to be honest about it, and I'm going to let it show and let it be what it is when it is. This week, we're talking about when social services showed up at my house and what I think that they did wrong and how I think it made me stay longer in the house than I had to. And maybe I'm wrong in my assessment. I don't think that I am. I think I'm seldom wrong. Maybe that's a personal ego problem. I don't think so. But here we go. Let's get into it. We all know now, at this point, that I grew up in a really crappy childhood environment. My parents were hoarders. They collected all kinds of crap, and it showed in our house because we had really narrow hallways. We had stacks upon stacks of crap. My stepfather even went so far as to build second ceilings so that he could stack crap on top of crap. Even our bedrooms became storage units. My bedroom especially became a storage facility instead of a bedroom. Also, I do apologize if the audio isn't perfect today. For some reason, I'm having trouble getting the audio to do what the audio is supposed to do, and I think that it's just because there's a lot of background stuff happening. There was also a lot of holes in our hallways because he was constantly having problems with his anger and smashed holes in them or kicked down our doors. And so to cover up all the holes in the hallways, my siblings and I would draw pictures and I would tape the pictures up to cover the holes, and it didn't always do a great job because they were plaster hallways and tape doesn't stick to plaster very well, but we did what we did to get by. We also had bug problems in the house as I was getting older, and instead of hiring somebody to get rid of our bugs, they tried to bug bomb themselves the house, and it didn't work. And so we were constantly covered in bug carcasses and then new bugs, and that was fun. Later on in the house, there was rats and mold and all kinds of stuff. Now, obviously, when it comes to hoarding and the degeneration of a house, that's not something that happens overnight. That happens over time. But that is also something I think you can kind of see happening in the works. And we were on our way towards that when social services showed up. And there were holes in the walls and holes in the doors when they were there. There were obvious signs of abuse and neglect, in my opinion, when they were in our home. And they were obviously called there for a reason. And they had enough of a good reason to do a home visit. Now, when they talked to me personally, here's what happened. They took me to our living room, which was attached to our kitchen, and there was an open door that led into our kitchen, which immediately had our living room table, which is where my parents sat with another social worker. So my parents were at the kitchen room table with a social worker. Then there was the door frame, which around the corner was the sofa, which is where I sat with another social worker. So I could hear everything my parents said, which means they could hear everything I said. The social worker asked me questions. Do you feel safe? Do your parents yell at you? Do your parents punish you? Do your parents hit you? They asked me a lot of questions. I honestly don't remember everything that they asked me, but I do remember thinking that it was kind of stupid that they asked me questions when my parents could hear me. And I remember fidgeting and feeling very uncomfortable and looking around the corner because I was afraid my parents could hear me, and I was afraid of saying the wrong thing because I was afraid of getting beat afterwards for saying the wrong thing. This wasn't the first time that I had been put into a situation where maybe I had been skilled ahead of time with what I was supposed to say so that I wouldn't say the wrong thing. My parents knew what they were doing. My stepfather especially knew what he was doing. He knew that we were not the right kind of family, and that if the right kind of people saw what was happening, that our family would be disassembled and taken apart. And so I was skilled regularly on what I should and shouldn't say to people. I didn't know that. I was a child. I think about this a lot now as an adult. Because even at the doctor, as an adult, when I go to the doctor, they will ask me first, like they'll take me back before I go back with my partner, and they'll say, do you feel safe at home? Do you feel safe around your partner? Like, come on. I think a lot about it, and I think what might have happened if they had separated me or put me in a place where I could talk about, and I could maybe answer the questions honestly without worrying about whether or not my parents could hear me around the corner in the next door. Now, I also know, or I have been told, that social services won't do anything unless there are marks on kids, unless there are very clear signs of abuse. And let me tell you, there were marks on me that day. No, they weren't visible, but there were plenty of marks on me. I was covered in bruises just in places they couldn't see, because my parents had gotten good at knowing how to do it without it being visible. And I know that that is sad, and I know that that is kind of like, well, that's not social services' fault. But again, maybe if I had been placed in a area where they could have asked questions and I could have answered them in a way that was actually helpful, it might have made a difference. And when they left, I remember them saying, we'll be back to check on you. We'll be back to follow up. We'll be back to make sure everyone is okay. And I remember standing outside and waiting for y'all to show back up, for y'all to make sure we were okay. And nobody came. Nobody came back. And if you did, I don't remember seeing you or talking to you. I was forgotten. I was left behind. I waited for you. I remember standing outside every day, waiting and watching for somebody to show up, that maybe I would have a second chance. Like maybe it would all work out and maybe we would be okay. And I didn't really even have an understanding of what okay would mean, because I still didn't really have a grasp on what was happening to me was bad. I just understood that maybe it wasn't okay and that maybe we just needed help, as a family. But I knew that I was in pain, and I knew that the marks that were on my body that were now so bad that they were bleeding, I knew that that wasn't okay. And I waited for you, and you didn't come back. And I had to wait and grow up until I was old enough to save myself, and then by then it was too late. And maybe it was too late even when you came. I don't know, because I think I had to have been maybe 12, 13, 14, somewhere in that age. It's hard to remember exactly. But maybe it was too late even then, but you still would have saved me a lot of pain if you had come and taken me then. I also hear stories about social services who take kids out of homes unnecessarily. And I can't quite wrap my head around that, because I don't understand how that can happen. And then you look at mine and you just left us there. How does that work? And when we did finally leave, and our story hit the news, and it was so sensationalized and it was so horrific that we had stories about us. I had stories about me and the things that happened to me, about being locked in a closet, about some of the most horrific things that happened to me in Japan and Australia. And people said that it was so mind-boggling. How could it be true? Because nobody saw it happen, but people did see it happen. People were in our home, and they didn't do anything about it. They didn't ask the right questions. They just walked away, and they didn't come back. I don't know. How do we reform that? How do we fix it? How do we make it better? What do you do with that when there doesn't seem to be any right answers each way that you go? Because even if I had been taken out of that house, what are the chances that I would have ended up with a family who would have actually taken care of me? Because let's be realistic about the foster system. Would I have been put with a safe family? I'm going to be doing a lot of processing today, but I would love to know what can we do to make it better? How do we reform the system? It's happening. This is really happening. It happened to me. And I was a kid, and I'm here, and I'm in front of you. I'm real. And I'm bearing the consequences now for it for the rest of my life. And it's not just on social services, It's not just their fault. It's a lot of people's fault what happened to me. It's a lot of people's fault what happened. But I think about that incident a lot. It haunts me, honestly. How different it could have gone. What a moment that was. What a key moment that was. If they had looked around the house more, if they had asked the right questions, if they had just separated us, if they had followed up better, if they had kept a closer eye. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, and I would love if people had input or ideas or any kind of thoughts, because I know that I'm not the only one, and that is a horrific thought to me to process. So that is this week's episode. I had to keep it short and sweet because, again, there's a lot happening. I don't know what this audio sounds like, again, but we're going to have to work with this one because this is the third time. This is the third time I'm recording this, and I cannot cope. But I want you to keep something in mind for this week going into next week. We call this potions in processing, right? And I haven't talked about potions much. It's about our unique personal magic. And a lot of people have said to me over the years, oh, these things that have happened to you have made you strong. These things that you've been through, they've made you so resilient. They have made you so remarkable. And that is so incredibly false. None of the stuff that has happened to me has made me any of those things. I am resilient because of me. I am strong because of me. I am remarkable because of me. One, because I was born with many of those characteristics. There's actually a resilient gene. I don't know if you know that, but that's true. But two, because of the choices that I have made, because of the magic I have decided to make for myself. And maybe that sounds childish to you, and if it does, I kind of feel sad for you in a little bit of a way, because when we lose that spark of creativity and that wanting to look at the world in that way, I think what is the point then, honestly? Each of us has this ability to create something magical and unique for ourselves. It's like when you have grandma who makes cookies just the right way, or slices apples just the right way, or you have that friend who just, when they listen to you talk, there's just nobody else who listens to you the right way. It's just like their personal brand of magic. It's just their special ability to do things. And that's what makes us who we are. So the potions that go along with the processing is us discovering the magic of who we are. The magic that makes us who we are outside of all of the bullshit trauma that we have to deal with. So you are who you are, not because of all the awfulness that you went through, but because of what you decided to do with it. Because you're still here and you're still doing you and you're still figuring it out. And it takes time. There's no time limit on healing. It comes in wavelengths. And you have the time to figure it out. You don't have to have it figured out in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. Just let yourself be and give yourself the grace and compassion. You have to hold yourself accountable for the bad choices that you make and for the people that you hurt along the way. But you have to do that in every stage of your life, no matter how old you are. Just remember that you are a lot more than just your baggage. Remember, we may be different species, but we're all part of the same family. So please be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will see you all next week, preferably without the lawnmowers.